last week, so I think the information would have been a lot more timely last week, but I think I know how to help you guys a little bit, all right? How many of you, raise of hands, have finished a resume? And I feel like it's good. Okay, how many of you have finished your cover letters? Okay, so what I might do is just go through the resume part real quick and fast. What I want you to make sure you have in your, is kind of do a checklist in your head. I've got this, I've got this, I've got this, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, right? And here's the thing. If you've already submitted it for senior interview day, you can unsubmit it and go fix it. I would recommend that. So if there's something that you hear today or figure out today that maybe you didn't add, could have done better, could change, go unsubmit it, go fix it, and get it done well, all right? So the very first thing, once again, these are supposed to be covered, but I need to know from you, have you actually talked about the purpose of a cover letter anywhere else?
No.
In English?
Yeah. Not really. Not like we touched on it, but not really.
Got it. Okay. The cover letter is actually more important or as important as the resume. Your cover letter, you probably need to spend as much time on a cover letter as you do a resume. The cover letter is the first thing that person or that interviewer is going to look at. It's the thing that's going to dictate whether or not they actually look at your resume. So if you don't have a well-written cover letter, if you don't have a cover letter that sets you apart from everybody else, they're not even going to get to the resume. So regardless of how beautiful your resume looks, regardless of how much time and great your resume is, if you don't have a good cover letter, you've totally wasted your time on the resume. The cover letter is what they see first, it's what they read first, it's what they even decide if they're going to go on. Now, in reality, next year, the following year, most of your resumes and cover letters are going to be uploaded into an Indeed, a Monster.com, that kind of thing, where they will use algorithms to kick out anything that has a misspelled word, anything that doesn't look good, and you won't even get to that next level. All right, so your resumes and your cover letters are the most important thing. Make sure the whole goal of this is to make you different from somebody else. What is different on you that everybody else has? So you guys collectively are in peer chamber. A lot of seniors are not. I would definitely have made sure that that would have been a bullet. I would have included, I helped with the story walk, we engaged in volunteer service, blah, 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 blah. That is an automatic set you apart from somebody else in your group. So the whole goal of this is not to list everything, but to list the things that make you different and better, okay? You guys, the header is the most important. You need a good header, okay? You need to have a really good header. Your header needs to be something different, better, more attractive than something else. The header needs to be the same on all documents. Is everybody aware of that? Okay, so another example, and I'm really bad. Tanner, I'm going to use you. What kind of splash of color can you use? How do you make your header look professional, clean, and the same, right? The headers matter on the resume. What are you going to write? Not everybody has to write leadership. Not everybody has to write activities. Not everybody has to do honors and awards. Your headers should change based on who you are. If you have really good work experience and you've done nothing but work your way through high school, that sucker better be first, right? If you haven't had a job in high school because you've been active in sports, what needs to go first, right? So the very first thing that you list on your resume needs to be the biggest component that you've done, right? So if you've had honors and awards, that needs to go first. If you've had better work experience than somebody else, that needs to go first. So don't assume that everybody's has to look the exact same, right? Emily Pocta might have more music, theater, forensics activities. Zach Cope might have a lot more work, right? Same great resume, I'm showing off different components of what I've done, right? So don't assume that you have to have the same stuff as everybody else. It's actually better if you don't, right? So like Zach's got great work experience, he would put that first. You've got great experience with MATC, welding, that kind of stuff is really going to set him apart from somebody else. If you've done tons of sports, put that first, right? So your headers matter, and how you put them in matters, right? Do you want to say activities? Do you want to say leadership? Do you want to say volunteer? Do you want to say community service? There's not a wrong way to do it. What makes it sound better? What's better for you? Okay? So make sure, and you guys, I'll pull all these back up here in a minute when I'm better at navigating. Okay? So make sure you pay attention to the header. You don't want it to be the same. You want your headers to be different based on what you do. Okay? They don't have to be in the same order. The only thing you must have, education goes first. And then you have to have work experience somewhere on there, obviously, if you were trying to get a job. But that doesn't necessarily mean it needs to go first. If you are somebody who has hundreds of hours of community service, that should go first, right? You guys, the template versus the not template. How many of you use templates? How many of you used a template? What did you find hard about a template? Those of you who used them.
Editing it, I guess.
Editing it, because every time you want to go in and add a new bullet, or every time you want to go in and add something, it screws up your spacing. You have to go in there and figure out how to configure it. It's an automatic 1.5 to 2 inch spacing. It's automatically giving you a very specific font. Those can be good things. Those can be bad things. Templates are good and bad, okay? If you're going to use a template, know what you're getting into, all right? So this is a template. This was done already for Kelly. It was already done. She just added in the stuff. But she couldn't go back and change the spacing. You can't go back and change the font. You have to be pretty computer savvy to know how to go do that, right? So there's not a right and wrong on the template versus not. Just know what you're getting into, okay? If you're going to use a template, you have to use that same template for your cover letter. You'd have to use that same template for your resume. You'll have to use that same template for your reference page. And you'll have to know how to change, fix, work with the margins, work with the font, versus designing your own. Okay, I kind of went through this. You need to prioritize your strengths. Everybody has a different strength, right? Make sure you prioritize your strengths. That goes first on your resume. You will not have the same header next as everybody else. You shouldn't, okay? So make sure if you've got a lot of honors and awards, you put that first. If you've done really great leadership activities, you put that first. There's no right or wrong way on that. You have to prioritize your resume to sell yourself. You are not selling somebody else. Don't follow somebody else's font. Don't follow somebody else's format. Don't follow somebody else's thing. Okay? Redo that sucker. Totally tear it apart, make it good for you. Right? I have tons of work experience. That would go first if I was going to apply for another job. If I wasn't applying for a teaching job and I was applying for something else, I might not put all the teaching stuff on there. Right? Okay. How many of you actually listed bullet points and verbs? How many of you used verbs? Do you know what I'm talking about? Let me show you a really good example of somebody who used really good verbs. Ashlyn Hellis, Allie's age, this is her college resume. Her work experience underneath the Baxter Marina, you guys, she was a dock girl. And if you know what a dock girl is in the summer, you literally stand on the dock and you fill boats up with gas. And that's it, right? She was a dock girl. That was her job. She loved it. That's what she did every summer. She worked out on a dock. Managed the ship store. Assisted customers with fueling boats. Rented and checked out boats for equipment and customers. That sounds a lot better than I worked on the dock, right? What are your verbs that you can put underneath that really sell what you're doing? This is also where you want to be different, all right? So she worked for the Wamego Community Foundation. She designed, promoted materials for scholarship banquet. That was what she did her senior year. She was in a business class. All she did was make the pamphlets for the senior scholarship banquet. But man, does that not look a lot better than what she actually did? Literally, it was for a class assignment. She just made the brochure. She did it in her business class. Okay? Designed promotional materials. That's really good. Created an event presentation. Okay? This is her undergraduate research. That's a little bit different. Okay? Notice what she put first. Then she did honors and awards. Computer skills she did last because that's not one of her strong suits. All right? Sydney Eichmann, I don't know if you guys remember her. She graduated how many years ago? Okay, same thing. So underneath National Honor Society, she said served as a student guardian. I don't know why that's shaking, but it's really bothering me. Sorry, I just want to like touch it. Collectively infused school spirit on the sidelines. For cheerleader. She was a cheerleader. Okay? She collectively infused school spirit. She was a cheerleader. Okay? How do you make yourself sound better? Did you use good verbs? Okay? Now, the other thing you need to look at is did you start each line with a verb? Each line needs to have been started with a verb. If you can vary them, that's even better. Designed, decorated, prepared, attended. Okay? Those are all really good verbs. Tanner, I'm going to pull you back up. Where's Ashlyn? Where's yours? Did I let go of it? If you were elected to a position, make sure you write elected. Don't just say served. You were elected into a student position. All right? Your verbs matter. Networked with local business people under peer chamber sounds really good. Networked is a good verb. How many of you did good verbs? Yeah. Okay. You need to have good verbs. How many of you want to go back and fix your verbs? How many of you should go back and fix verbs? If you didn't list verbs, you need to make sure you go do that. All right? Verbs matter, you guys. I don't know how many times I've told you that in school. Verbs matter, verbs matter, verbs matter, verbs matter. Okay? Try to vary them. Try not to use common ones. Try to use better ones, stronger ones, something that actually shows you did something. All right? No I's or U's anywhere in this at all. Don't start anything with I. Numbers. This isn't going to matter for you right now. This is going to matter next year. This is going to matter in a year from now. They are saying resumes now need to have some kind of quantifying number on them. I made an increase in customer service, blah, 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 blah. I increased sales membership by. I increased da-da-da by. And if you don't have a number on your resume, it gets kicked out of the programs. Okay? So this isn't something you necessarily need for senior interview day. It's definitely something you're going to have on your resume later. If If I was going to reapply for another teaching position, I would say increased AP scores exponentially every year. Average AP score of. And I would make sure I had numbers. Okay? Those are examples, more examples, more examples. 1 page versus 2. What do you guys know? They say the more experience, the additional page you can have. You are an experienced high school student. You are not a freshman high school student. You are at the end of your high school career. You are an experienced high school student. For what you're selling me, you could probably have 2 pages as a high school student. Next year as a freshman at K-State, or a freshman at KU, or a new intern into another career or job, you're probably back to 1, right? Kelly and Allie have 1 page. I could probably have 2 or 3. So it's the level of experience. You are considered an experienced high school student. You are selling me what you've done in high school. You can probably have 2 with your high school experience. Next year, no way. You start over, right? So when you start each new job or career, if it doesn't apply, you don't put it on there. Next year, you don't want high school stuff on there. Okay? So you're back to 1. You'll probably be a 1-pager when you go into your next field or position. After you've been working for 10 or 15 years, you could probably up it again to 2. So you always go off of 1-page or 2-page based on level of experience you're going for in that field. Okay? So as leaders of high school, I'm looking at you guys. You guys are the ones that are in everything. You guys are the ones that are part of everything. You potentially could have 2 pages on your resume. But better be good. Don't list just everything. I don't want a litany. You know what I mean? Word choice. I don't want a list. Okay? Oh, hey, cover letter. Here we go. You have to write this in a business format. You must write this in a business format. You must be very professional on your business letter. You have to have a header. You have to have some kind of opening salutation, body paragraph, single space, double space in between paragraphs. Format matters. Okay? Don't be sloppy on these. You have to have a really good cover letter. You must include the date up at the top, current date that you're writing it, so February 26th, whatever. Double space, business header of who you're addressing, who it goes to. Double space. Introduction is the first body paragraph. Here's what you have to have in it. What job are you applying for? Who did you hear from about this job? This is key. If you're writing a real cover letter, you need to throw a name of somebody who recommended the job for you. Try not to be generic of, I heard the job, or I read about the job in the newspaper. Did someone contact you? Did you get personally contacted to reach out about this job? You guys would write who? Who would you include in your cover letter? Mrs. Kugler. Okay? I heard about the opening position from Mrs. Kugler, or blah, 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 blah. You have to have that in that first body paragraph. Okay? Specifically, what do you know? Second body paragraph is why are you interested in the job and what sets you apart. That's the body paragraph that sells you. That's what you want different. Hey, you guys, don't copy each other's. And I'm saying that in a real true sense. You don't want yours to sound like Tanner's. You don't want yours to sound like Zach's. You don't want yours to sound like the next guy. Why not? Yeah, you've got to set yourself apart. You don't have the same skills, right? So Tanner might talk about time management. I'm sorry, I'm just using you because you're first. Time management. He has late practices. He's early in the morning working out. He's here in the morning. So you could really talk about your time management, your organizational skills, perseverance with sports, right? Somebody who's in music or theater can talk about practices, late nights, studying, memorizing lines. What sets you apart? That's the second body paragraph. That's what's going to make me look further into your resume. If you have a crappy cover letter, I'm not even going to look at the resume. It gets stuck in the other pile. Okay? Nobody talks to you about the cover letters. All we ever do is teach you the resume, when in reality, the cover letter is the most important. Okay? Make sure you have a closing. How are you a strong fit? When's a good time to talk? When can I meet you? Okay? She has no idea I'm using this one. She just applied for an internship as a freshman at K-State with a law firm. She's majoring in political science, mass communication. She heard about the job from Tracy Lee at K-State. Her professor told her about the internship. She specifically mentioned the name, right? I fit the needs and requirements for this internship, even though I'm a freshman, okay? Then she went into her background. Customer service at Bank of the Flint Hills has given me great experience in customer service. You have no idea how big that is for companies, corporations, businesses. You can talk to customers. That's huge. Use it. That's big, right? If you've done any kind of customer service job, that's huge. Okay? I value the importance of client satisfaction. I have interpersonal skills. I understand the importance of confidentiality. Simple statements. Okay? Last paragraph. I'm also familiar with the region. I plan to continue my education at K-State. I'm going to be here for 3 or 4 more years. I can be contacted by. She got the call the next day. Your cover letter matters. Okay? What set her apart from somebody else? What set her apart from another K-State student?
She actually turned her being a freshman into a good thing.
Right. She flipped it and said, instead of just being a freshman, I'm here for 3 or 4 more years. I'm here. I'm not moving. I'm not leaving. I'm familiar with the region. I grew up here. I know Manhattan businesses. Right? She turned those into positives. Don't think that those are bad things. Okay? Okay, cover letter. Any questions on the cover letter? What are you guys struggling with? What do you need? Yeah. Can't see you, I'm sorry.
Put that somewhere so we can actually see that.
This?
Yes. Yeah, that's.
Wait, can you just post the whole slideshow on the Google Classroom?
Yeah. Whole slideshow is going to be posted in my videotape.
Okay.
Deanna. Okay, yes, I will put this on here, you guys. I actually have a document when I taught senior English. I actually have a document that I've made for my seniors that I can also share with you. Okay? It's exactly this. The thing you've got to make sure you know how to do, you guys, is the spacing. Look at how they do that. You have your date, business header, salutation is what it's called, body paragraphs, closing. You have to have those elements on your business letter. You must have those elements on your business letter. Does yours look like this? Can you add another sentence or two? Can you add something into those cover letters that sets you apart from somebody else? What can you do different? What can you put in? Right? Yeah?
I was going to add, the other thing too is be specific. So you notice in the example, like Kelly talks about that customer service experience and how that relates to what she is applying to. That's really important. If you can use current experience, current involvement, and then relate it to what you are applying for, that's really going to speak volumes too, because you're providing concrete examples and you're not saying I would or I will, but you're already showing that you have that knowledge and expertise, which is huge. The other thing, if you're applying for multiple things, make sure that you review it and make sure that everything is for that position. I've been on search committees before, and they have put down the wrong institution, they have put down the wrong job title, and so then it's like, well, this person's obviously applying for multiple positions, and they obviously don't have great attention to detail because they're not reviewing what they're submitting. So
that is
that's
huge.
important
I will
too.
say that. Make sure you are writing to who you are actually knowing, and that you've done a little background research on who they are and what they're doing. You guys are writing your cover letters to somebody generic, right? So if you're going to be a teacher, you might write it to Mrs. Dow at Central Elementary. You might write it to Mr. Steve Land at Wamego City Hospital if you're going into the health field, right? Do your background. Who is this person? What do they do? Okay? There's another example on there. Oh my God. Proofread your papers. Proofread. 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 Probably, really, go back and unsubmit that thing and make sure you've checked for spelling, grammar, punctuation, verbs, word choice, I, you, first person, second person, past tense. Everything I've ever told you before matters. Okay? How many of you feel like you should go back and recheck and review and relook and redo? Okay? Do you have color? You need a splash of color in there. Okay? If you are going towards a business, it should be a little bit more formal. If you're going towards a design, marketing, you have more splash of design and color. Dylan Campbell, a few years ago, applied for the Institute of Baking in New York. His was all in green because he was going into the Institute of Baking, and he got it. And he made it all the color of vegetables in green. Those kind of things matter. So what are little things, little tweaks that you can do that's going to make it different, okay? Never, never lie. Don't embellish. Don't pretend you're bigger than you are. They'll find out. Thank yous are a must. Old school believes in thank you notes. Most people do it through email. Jason, do you have a thought on that as business?
Yeah, follow-up email is probably going to be read. The letters, unless you're in the top qualifying, it's not going to help you get it seen. But people will check their emails real quick and say, are they in there? Did I forget them? So, yeah, I fire an email out.
I would think that's trending this direction. I believe they used to say send a thank you card. I believe the trend is now they're going to read an email before they see your card. Your card might not make it past the secretary's desk, right? And if it does, it might be a week. Your follow-up email is vital. This is huge. You must always do some kind of follow-up email thanking them for their time, thanking them for giving you an interview. Then put something in there that helps them remember who you were. If they did 4 interviews that day, what was one specific thing you talked about that's going to trigger a memory? So if they had 4 interviews or 5 interviews, you guys, and you do, they're starting to interview for Mr. Cook's position right now. There's 4 set up tomorrow. There's 4 set up the next day. If you were the first guy that interviewed on the first day, how am I going to remember who you were versus the last guy on the second day? Right? And you guys, if you're on the other end of this, if you interview, you get really messed up with who was who. Was that the guy? Was this the person? Did they do this? That's why this is important. You must do this. It must be well written. Don't send a sloppy email. Don't send a hey, thanks. It's got to be professional. You must say, dear Mr. Toll, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciated the interview. If you remember, I met with you on Monday at 10 in the morning. I really appreciate our conversation about, and that's when you might list 1 or 2 things that you specifically talked about. And then I would appreciate follow-up. I will be calling you if I don't hear from you in the next couple days. Please keep my application and resume on file, which is what Kelly did. Kelly didn't get the internship. She got called, she got in, she was a freshman, that was huge, but she didn't get it. So she said, can you keep my application on file? Will you keep my resume on file if one opens up again? Yes, we will. Thank you. So that's a really good thing to say, even if you don't get the job, right? Have your resume stay on file. Have something that's memorable for them to come back, okay? You will do this senior interview day. You will need to do this. You will need to do this well. Your email needs to be, once again, well written, formatted, spelling, sentence structure, and then even do a thank you, Mary Lonker, and then I would put your phone number and email right underneath your name. Okay? A lot of people have those automatically in their emails, like as a, but if you don't have that automatically in your email, do that. You guys, I'd also avoid using school emails. Because once you're gone, those are gone. Right? So don't use your ksu.edu, USB 320, because once you leave next year, that's gone. So I would use your own Gmail account, but please don't have some silly little like hot4cheetos.com kind of thing, right? Don't do that, that's bad, okay? Okay, PDFs. You gotta save these as PDFs. You must save these as PDFs. Do not ever send anything in a Word document format. It will be screwed up. How many of you saved them as PDFs? How many of you know how to save as PDFs? Okay, gotta save as PDFs. You gotta send them as PDFs, save them as PDFs, never upload as a Google. Oh, you guys, don't assume people have Google. John, Central Mechanical won't allow Google. Google is blocked from Central Mechanical. It's too open, it's too broad, it's too big. They won't allow Google anything. Google gets shut. All right? If you have a big corporation like that, very likely will they have Google Docs allowed. You cannot send anything through Google Docs. Don't assume that's good for schools only. That's about where it ends. Okay? Businesses don't use Google Docs. Right? Okay, we're going to talk to you how to do this. But make sure that you save all 3 pieces or 4 pieces as a PDF. You're going to do it as a running PDF. All right? Do you know what that is? So over here in thumbnail, Mrs. Lindley might have to jump up. Save it first as a PDF. Then you want to do a running document. So you click on thumbnail. Here's her cover letter. Here's her resume. Then I would add another, her third would be her reference page or any other documents attached to that. Okay? Easy way to do this, you guys, is once it's a PDF. Sorry, this is bad of me. I hate it when teachers do this. So let's say I have a letter of rec. None of these are PDFs. Let me find a letter. Oh, hey, sorry, you're going to see a little sneaky thing Mrs. Lonker has. All your letters of rec are in here. Yeah, look at all those. So if I had a PDF, you can slide it over here. Okay? So I have your letter of recommendation. I gave it to you. You have a letter of recommendation. You save it as a PDF. I'm just going to slide it into a running document. There it is. All right? So now her running document is her cover letter, her resume. I don't think you need letter of recommendations, but you will. And then if she had a reference page, she'd put that next. All you got to do is slide it, save it as a PDF, slide it over into your thumbnail. Want me to do that again? So I'm going to get rid of her thumbnail. There's her thing. Click over here, this little bar right up here, see it? Thumbnail. Go to your files, save them as a PDF, drag them over. There they are. That way you have one running PDF document. And then you can just upload the one running document. Does that work?
Yep.
Mrs. Lindley also has in here videos on how to do that. Okay, so there's videos on here too. Okay, there are steps, how to make a PDF, how to save it, there's videos. Basically all you got to do is make sure you save it as a PDF, thumbnail, drag. But you definitely need a running document. You definitely need to save this PDFs. Upload them as one whole attached file. That way there's no missed pieces. Okay? Questions so far? I'm going fast because we're out of time. Questions so far? What do you guys got? Talk to me.
When's it all due?
What?
When's it all due?
When's it all due?
Yeah.
Next week.
Go.
Before spring
You're
break.
kidding me, right?
Like Friday?
You're joking.
I think it's on there on one of the
You're
slides.
joking. Ah!
It is due the Friday before spring break. Thursday. Technically you don't have school.
Next week?
2 weeks. You have 2 weeks. Okay? 2 weeks. You guys, here's what I would tell you. If you think you're done, I want to ask you if you're really done. Do you need to go back and unsubmit? Do you need to go check your verbs? Do you need to go check your headers? Do you need to go check your spelling? Do you need to go check stuff? Don't do a one and done scenario. How is yours going to be better or different than somebody else's? What do you need to do? How do you need to change it? What can you add? What can you delete? What can you fix? If everybody has on there that they're a member of FBLA, okay, what did you do different?
Yeah, let other people read it. That's, you're not going to catch it. If you read it 100 times, you're not going to see it, but somebody else will see it right away. So let a couple different people read your routine.
That is so true, you guys, because you've been working with this document so many days, so much, you might easily miss over a simple thing. I accidentally wrote TH instead of THE, but I've looked at it so many times I don't even notice it anymore.
Do you have them proofread backwards?
I say backwards up.
Yeah.
Proofread it. Any other questions? Okay, so March 11th, what you have to have, cover letter, resume, references. You do not need a letter of recommendation this year. They were used to, not this year because they're electronic through Zoom. Okay? You need to save them as PDFs, upload them as one running document so your interviewer has it all on one page so the interviewer doesn't have to toggle back and forth. They only scroll.
You want them in that order up there?
Yes. That order always. Cover letter first.
Would we upload that running document on the Zello thing?
No. We decided not to use Zello. It was getting too confusing, so just email to me.
I think that's in here too, but you're going to email them directly to Mrs. Lindley. Yep, right here. You're going to email them directly to Mrs. Lindley's school email. Okay, wait, don't leave. Real fast. March